I promised it would happen, and now it's finally here. My Harley Quinn Season 2 review. I know I told you guys like a month or two ago that I would actually do this Season 2 review, but I've been pretty busy lately, so I finally had a chance to get caught up, and I watched Harley Quinn Season 2 on HBO Max, and it was so good. Now this is a full-on spoiler review, so if you haven't seen it, I don't recommend watching this video until you have seen it. But just for a quick, like, non-spoiler part, it was freaking awesome. I love this season. I watched season 1, and that was great. I enjoyed it. It was so unique and different, and I really loved it. But as soon as I started watching the first episode of this season, I knew that it was going to be 10 times better. And honestly, I think that this second season actually kind of boosted this show up into my top 5 TV series of all time. Like, I never thought that I would get an animated series up there in that list, but it's just that good. And I think that's mostly because it is animated, because I love live action superhero shows. Those are awesome. But when it's animated like this, there's so much more that you can do with this. So I'm so happy with how this turned out. But now let's go ahead and get into the spoilers of this season, because a lot happened in this season. There was 13 episodes, only about 20 minutes each, and every single minute, every single episode was so good. And we tackled so many storylines here. But of course, the one big main storyline and arc this season was the Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy relationship, and those two finally getting together. Hashtag Harl Ivy. Yep. So I love how that happened too, because if you watched season 1 and you weren't like a DC Comics fan and you never knew that, like, in their past outside of this show that those two characters were together, you wouldn't have known that. So it was something completely brand new introduced to this season. And they did it so organically, and I just loved how they did that. But I'll get into that more later. But first of all, I want to talk about the first big storyline and arc of the season, which was kind of like the no man's land that we had going on here, where the city was in ruins. Gotham City was no longer part of the United States of America, and basically all of the villains decided to just, split up all the land between themselves. So that was when we had the formation of the Injustice League to replace the Legion of Doom, and I guess the Justice League as well. We had Penguin, we had Riddler, Bane, Two-Face, and then also Mr. Freeze, which I loved in this season as well. So I love this team because it was some of the best Batman villains, which I love seeing. The unfortunate part is that pretty much all of them died. Like Penguin, he died in the first episode, which really sucked because he's one of my favorite Batman villains. Plus seeing him get his nose bit off, like, ooh, that was nasty, but also, I mean, he kind of deserved that. And that is what Harley Quinn would have done in that situation. And then same goes for Mr. Freeze. I was really sad to see him die, but it's so true to his character because he would sacrifice himself for Nort. He's not really a true villain, and that's what I loved about that episode. I believe it was episode 4, maybe, Thawing Hearts, where he sacrificed himself for his wife, and it basically showed that he wasn't really a villain. He just wanted to save her. So I loved seeing that. And with this Injustice League, I loved seeing all their different domains. Like, we had the Iceberg Lounge for Penguin. We had Riddle U, the Riddler University for Riddler. We had Baneton for Bane. So that was awesome. I loved seeing all of that. So all of that was really cool. But other than that, we also had some other, let's talk about some of the other characters that were introduced in this season, like Barbara Gordon as Batgirl, which was really interesting to see. I love how they introduced her and showed how she became Batgirl, and how she kind of got the acceptance from Batman after kind of proving it to him, because he was in a coma and then he wasn't. And we also got a cameo appearance from Robin in, I think, maybe the first episode. So that was really awesome as well. So I love seeing Batgirl. I think she was done so good here in this season. I loved all of that. But now let's I know I'm kind of all over the place here with this review. But so much happened here. We also got a flashback with Joker's childhood and his origin type thing, to Harley's first day in Arkham. So that was cool. But probably the big thing other than the Harl Ivy thing, was Darkseid and Apocalypse and the Parademons, because there was a point where Harley was like, alright, I want to be a villain, so I'm gonna get all these Parademons, and then she did, but then she realized, oh, maybe I don't want that, and then that was when the big moment in the season happened where we got our main villain, which actually ended up being Dr. Psycho, which was something that makes sense with that character, but I really didn't see it coming in this season, but I love seeing it so much. So that was really awesome to see, because, you know, he is an egotistic maniac, and he just went full-on crazy mode here, and he just decided, like, I'm gonna work with the Riddler, I'm gonna work with Darkseid, I want to be this evil supervillain that's gonna take over the world, and obviously he was defeated in the end. I'll talk about that more, like I said, in a little bit here. Before I do, let's talk about the rest of Harley's crew. Like Clayface. I actually enjoyed Clayface this season. I didn't really care for him in the first season because I don't really like this version of Clayface. I prefer the actual more villain version of Clayface, but this version is starting to grow on me more. And I do like how he, you know, kept coming up with all these different characters and how he's all about acting and everything. So that was kind of cool. And then we also had King Shark as well, who we found out that he ran away from his home because he didn't want to get involved with that arranged marriage, but then still ended up doing it anyway. We also had Cy Borgman, who sacrificed himself, but now he's kind of back, but as a cake mixer and then in a TV. Not completely sure what's going on there, but that was pretty cool. But now, I guess let's get into the big part here. You know, the big chunk of stuff that happened here towards the end of the season, where, like I said, Dr. Psycho, he got control of the Parademons. He went full on evil mode, working with Darkseid and everyone. And this is when we met the new Joker, which was apparently after Joker was dumped in the acid last season. When he came out, he was not the Joker anymore. He was just a completely new person, and he had this whole life with Bethany and her kids and everything. And by the end, we see that Joker and Harley, they actually kind of become friends now, and Joker realizes that he is actually in love with Bethany. So I'm not sure if we're going to see him in season 3, but because his storyline did kind of wrap up, but I definitely love to see him again, of course, because he's an awesome character. But throughout this whole season, we saw that Harley had these feelings for Ivy, but then at the same time, Ivy was getting married to Kite Man, but then you still saw these hints and teases here and there where it was like, oh, she never really thought about, like, living her whole life with Kite Man forever. Like, she didn't realize the commitment she was making. And by the end, we even end up getting that Poison Ivy versus Harley Quinn battle, and Kite Man's like, oh, True Love's kiss will free Poison Ivy from her mind control from Dr. Psycho, and it did nothing, but then Harley Quinn kissed her, and it did work, because True Love's kiss, because they are the two that are meant to be together overall, really. So then they basically ended up together. Harley turned down Darkseid and was like, nah, I don't want to rule the world and everything. But still, this was where Ivy was still like, I can't do this. I want to be with Kite Man, even though deep down she didn't really. Especially after Dr. Psycho revealed to the whole world basically a sex tape of Harley and Ivy. But she still went through with the wedding, at least almost, because in the final episode, which was really where everything big and huge happened, Dr. Psycho and Riddler were back in Arkham. Also, sadly, the Condiment King is dead. That's a little sad. But now, like I said, it's time for the wedding and everything. But the GCPD and Jim Gordon, because he wants a key to the city because the Justice League got him. And even that random guy with the mustache got one, but Jim Gordon didn't. So he really wants one. So he's trying to take down all these villains, and he basically just ends up wrecking the wedding. Which, by the way, this wedding had, like, so many cool villains here. Like, you had Man-Bat, Livewire, Black Manta, Solomon Grundy, and even Tim Burton. So, definitely a star-studded wedding there. But in the end of this, Kite Man is actually the one that ends it off and breaks off the relationship with Ivy, because he's like, I've tried time and time again with you, and yes, I want to marry you, and yes, I'm in love with you, but I realize that you're not, and you're not ready to commit to me, and I'm not the one for you. And that was really cool. I mean, it's hard not to feel bad for Kite Man, and this really reminds me a lot of on Friends in the first season, with Ross, how, like, he was in love with Carol because, you know, he was married to her, but then, well, turned out she was a lesbian, so he kind of just had to go off and do something else, and that's kind of what's going on here with Kite Man. Like, he was in love with Ivy, but he realizes that she's not, and they're not meant to be together. So that was very powerful for Kite Man to do. And just like with Joker, I'm not sure if we're going to see him in the next season, because his storyline did kind of end off. Really, the whole time he's been here on the show was just because he was with Ivy. But that is what actually really opens up the door for Harl Ivy to become a thing, because now the Kite Man's gone, there's nobody in their way, except, of course, the GCPD, which are chasing them this whole time, and that's basically where the season ends. They say that they love each other, they kiss, and while the GCPD are chasing them, and that's where it ends, and I love it, because it is kind of a cliffhanger, but at the same time, like, not necessarily, because you know that they're a couple, and that was really the big storyline for the season that you wanted to see wrapped up, and you did get that happy ending. And it has been confirmed by the creators of the show that in season 3, and however many more seasons we get with this show, we're not going to have any relationship drama like you do with, like, every other TV show where the big couple finally gets together. It's like the next season, something happens and they break up, and then by the end they get back together. No, with this, they're going to stay together, they're going to have a happy relationship, and it's going to be awesome, and I'm super excited for that. So I have no idea when season 3 is coming out, but I do have HBO Max, and it is an HBO Max original now, so I'll be able to watch it when it actually comes out this time. So that's going to be cool, but definitely stay tuned for more updates on that. I know this review was kind of all over the place and kind of jumbled, just throwing in random stuff here and there. I tried my best, but I literally just finished watching the season like 10 minutes ago. As soon as I finished that last episode, I started recording. So it was crazy, but I love this season. I loved it so much, and now I just completely love this show, and I can't wait to see season 3 whenever we do get that. So guys, let me know down in the comments below, what did you think of this review, and what did you think of Harley Quinn Season 2, and also would you like to see me do other reviews for seasons of other stuff that I haven't done reviews on yet, like Young Justice Season 3, I do plan on watching that sometime soon, but because I haven't seen the new season. But I also haven't seen the first 2 seasons since it was on TV years ago. So I do want to watch those again first, and then I'll watch season 3. So if I do a review for that, it probably won't be out until 2021. But definitely let me know in the comments below if you want me to do a review on that, or a new season of something else I haven't seen yet, or even a movie. So guys, just let me know down in the comments below, what did you think about Harley Quinn Season 2, and what other reviews would you like to see from me? So, thank you guys so much for